The Seattle rain tapped softly against the living room windows as I arranged the white roses in my father's favorite crystal vase. 6 months since his funeral, and I still caught myself reaching for the phone to call him every Sunday morning. The scent of the roses mixed with the faint smell of David's expensive Tom Ford cologne lingering in the air from this morning. He'd left early for the airport, kissing my forehead and reminding me not to worry, that he'd be back from San Francisco by Monday. I adjusted the roses one more time, my fingers brushing against the cool glass, when something fell from behind the vase. A receipt, crumpled, as if hastily shoved there and forgotten. Le Jardin, a 4-star French restaurant in San Francisco. Date, 2 weeks ago. Time, 9:47 p.m. Table for 2. Total, $487. My hand froze. 2 weeks ago, David had been in San Francisco for a board meeting. He'd come home talking about stuffy conference rooms and terrible hotel coffee. Not word about Le Jardin. Not a word about a $487 dinner. I smoothed the receipt flat on the marble countertop, studying every detail. The server's name was Jessica. They'd ordered the chef's tasting menu. 2 glasses of Chateau Margaux, $180 a glass. My stomach turned. David and I had celebrated our 10th anniversary at Red Lobster because he'd said we needed to be financially responsible with the house renovation costs. The house renovation that had been his idea. I picked up my phone, thumb hovering over his contact. Then I stopped. Something told me not to call. Not yet. Instead, I opened our joint credit card account, something I hadn't checked in months. David always handled the finances. He was the CFO of a tech company after all. He knew money. I'd trusted him completely. The transactions loaded slowly. When they appeared, my breath caught in my throat. Tiffany & Co., $3,200. 3 weeks ago. Four Seasons, San Francisco, $890. 2 weeks ago. Another charge at Le Jardin, $520. Last month, Nordstrom, $1,400. Women's department, 6 weeks ago. I scrolled faster, my heart pounding. The charges went back months. Restaurants, hotels, jewelry stores, boutique shopping, all in cities where David had business trips. All while he'd been telling me we couldn't afford to visit my sister in Boston, or that new couch I'd wanted, or that we should wait another year before trying for a baby. My hands shook as I grabbed my laptop. I needed to see more. I needed to understand. Our joint account loaded on the screen. I'd inherited $800,000 from my father. David had convinced me to put it in our joint account for tax purposes, said his company's accountant recommended it. He'd held my hand while I grieved, smoothed my hair, and promised he'd protect my father's legacy for us, for our future children. The balance showed $220,000. I blinked, certain I'd misread. Refreshed the page, still $220,000. Where was the other $580,000? My mouth went dry. I clicked on transaction history, scrolling through months of statements. Large transfers, $30,000 here, $45,000 there, all labeled investment portfolio, Sterling Capital Management. I'd never heard of Sterling Capital Management. I grabbed my phone with trembling fingers and searched the name. Nothing. No website, no business registration, no existence. The room started spinning. I gripped the edge of the desk. This wasn't possible. David wouldn't. He couldn't. But the evidence was right there, glowing on the screen in neat, damning rows. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at that number. Out of $220,000. All that was left of my father's life savings, his legacy, his final gift to his only daughter. The sun had moved across the sky when I finally stood up, my legs unsteady. I walked to David's home office, the room he'd claimed as his sanctuary, the room I respected his privacy in. My hand turned the doorknob. His laptop sat on the mahogany desk. Closed. David always closed it, always logged out. But he'd left in a hurry this morning, kissing me goodbye, telling me he loved me, promising to bring me back something special from San Francisco. I opened the laptop. It woke immediately, still logged in. His email was open. I knew I shouldn't look. In 10 years of marriage, I'd never invaded his privacy. But $580,000 of my father's money was missing. Privacy felt like a luxury I could no longer afford. The most recent email was from someone named Sophie Laurent. Subject line: "Can't wait for this weekend." My hands hovered over the trackpad. Everything in me screamed to close the laptop, to unhear what I'd heard, to unsee what I'd seen. But I'd already crossed this line. There was no going back. I clicked. "David, baby, I cannot wait for Hawaii. I've been dreaming about us on that beach since you booked it. 2 whole days, just us, no hiding. You've been so stressed with everything at work. You deserve this. You deserve to be happy. I know the divorce is hard, but soon you'll be free and we can finally start our real life together. Thank you for taking care of the resort reservation. I'll handle the couple's massage appointment. I love you so much. See you Friday at SeaTac. Your Sophie." The divorce. The divorce. He told her we were getting divorced. We weren't getting divorced. We were married. I was his wife. I was wearing his ring right now, the modest band he'd given me 11 years ago because the company was just starting out and money was tight. The ring I'd never upgraded because he said our love didn't need expensive symbols. I clicked on his sent folder. Found his reply from this morning, sent at 6:47 a.m., probably while I was still sleeping. "Sophie, my love, I can't wait either. Everything is arranged. The resort is paid for. First-class tickets are in your inbox. This weekend is about us, about our future." Maya doesn't suspect anything. She never checks accounts, never questions anything. I've been moving the last of the assets this week. By the time she figures anything out, it'll be too late. After Hawaii, I'll tell her I'm leaving. "You've been so patient, baby. Just a few more days. I love you more than anything. See you Friday." The last of the assets. It'll be too late. The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. But I didn't let them fall. Not yet. Instead, I scrolled through his emails, methodical now, documenting everything. Screenshots, save, screenshots, save. Sophie Laurent. 28 years old, according to her email signature. Junior financial analyst at Cascade Tech Solutions. David's company. His employee. 20 years younger than him. I found dozens of emails. Hundreds. Going back 2 years. Intimate messages. Photos I forced myself to look at just long enough to save as evidence. Plans for their future. His promises to her. The lies he'd told her about me. He'd told her I was cold, that our marriage had been dead for years, that I'd refused to have children because I was too focused on myself, that I'd inherited money from my father and refused to share it with him, kept it separate out of spite. Every lie was a knife, precise and deliberate. But what shattered me most were the financial documents. I found them in a hidden folder titled Property Records, Transfers to Offshore Accounts, documents with my forged signature, asset liquidation plans. He'd been systematically moving money for 18 months, slowly enough that I wouldn't notice, fast enough to drain the account before I caught on. There were even emails to an attorney about protecting assets in an anticipated divorce. He'd been planning this, planning to leave me, planning to steal my inheritance, planning to start a new life with Sophie, using my father's money. I sat back in his leather chair, the one he'd spent $2,000 on last year while telling me my $300 office chair was fine for now. My mind felt eerily calm, like I was watching this happen to someone else. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Landed in SF. Missing you already. Love you, sweetheart. I stared at the message. Then I looked at his email inbox, still open on the screen. His most recent email, sent 15 minutes ago, was to Sophie. Just landed. Can't wait until Friday. We're almost free, baby. That's when something inside me crystallized. Not rage, not heartbreak, not yet. Those would come later. Right now, I felt something else entirely. Clarity. I picked up my phone and made a call. Quinn Rodriguez, please. Tell her it's Maya Chen, and it's urgent. Quinn Rodriguez had been my roommate at University of Washington. She'd gone to law school while I'd climbed the corporate ladder at a marketing firm before David convinced me to quit 5 years ago to support his career trajectory. Quinn was now one of Seattle's most aggressive divorce attorneys. We hadn't spoken in 3 years, not since David said her negative energy wasn't good for our marriage. Maya? Quinn's voice was sharp, professional. Is everything okay? No, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Everything is not okay. I need a lawyer. I need you. I'll clear my afternoon. Come to my office at 3. I hung up and looked at David's laptop screen. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I forwarded every incriminating email to my own account, downloaded every document, copied every photo. I was thorough, methodical. The same skills I'd used in marketing, now weaponized. When I was done, I closed his laptop, positioning it exactly as I'd found it. Then I drove to Quinn's office in downtown Seattle, the rain still falling softly, the city blurred through my windshield like a watercolor painting coming apart. Quinn's office overlooked Puget Sound. She'd done well for herself. When her assistant showed me in, Quinn stood from behind a massive desk, her expression already sharpened into her lawyer face. "Talk to me," she said. I did. I told her everything, showed her everything. By the time I finished, Quinn was leaning forward, her pen tapping a steady rhythm against her legal pad. "Okay," she said. "This is bad. This is very bad, but it's also very good." "Good? For your case. He's committed fraud, embezzlement, forgery. This isn't just divorce, Maya. This is criminal." She pulled out a business card. "This is forensic accountant I work with, Marcus Webb. Call him tomorrow morning. We need a complete financial audit, and we need it fast. Can you act normal until next week?" "He's leaving Friday. Going to Hawaii with her." Quinn's eyes lit up. "Perfect. You're going to let him go." "What?" "Trust me. You're going to let him go on his romantic weekend. While he's gone, we're going to dismantle his entire life." She pulled out a fresh legal pad and started writing. "Here's what we're going to do." The next 3 days were a performance. I smiled when David called from San Francisco. I asked about his meetings. I told him I loved him. I packed his suitcase for Hawaii on Thursday night, folding his favorite swim trunks, tucking in the sunscreen, playing the dutiful wife one last time. "You're the best," he said, kissing me at the door Friday morning. His Uber was waiting. "I'll be back Monday. We'll do something special, okay? Maybe that nice Italian place you've been wanting to try." With my inheritance money, I thought. But I smiled and kissed him back. "Have a safe trip." I watched his Uber pull away. Then I counted to 60. Then I made my calls. Marcus Webb, the forensic accountant, arrived at 9. By noon, he'd traced every dollar. The offshore account in the Cayman Islands, the fake investment company, the forged documents. He'd found everything. "This is prosecutable," he said. "But more importantly for your divorce case, it's documented. Every transfer, every forgery, every lie. He's going to have a very hard time explaining this to a judge." At 1 p.m., Quinn arrived with a courier. Divorce papers, already filed with the court, restraining order paperwork, fraud complaints, everything was ready. At 2 p.m., I called the credit card company and reported fraud on our joint cards. They froze them immediately. At 2:30, I called our bank and requested an emergency freeze on our joint accounts, citing suspected financial elder abuse of my deceased father's estate. They complied. At 3 p.m., I called a locksmith. At 4 p.m., I boxed up David's things and put them in the garage. At 5 p.m., I sat on our couch, the new locks gleaming on the door, and waited. David's first call came at 6:47 p.m. Seattle time. They'd be checking into the resort right about now. I didn't answer. The second call came at 6:48 p.m., third at 6:50 p.m. By 7 p.m., I had 15 missed calls, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with text messages. "Why isn't the card working?" "Maya. Call me now." "This isn't funny. Call me." "What the hell did you do?" "Maya." At 7:30 p.m., Sophie called me. Her number wasn't saved, but I knew who it was. I answered. "Hello? Is this Maya?" Her voice was young, uncertain. "This is Sophie Laurent. I work with David. We need to talk." "Do we?" "Look, I don't know what's going on, but David said you two were getting divorced. He said it was amicable. He said—" "He lied," I said calmly. "We're not getting divorced. We weren't getting divorced. We are now, but that's because he stole $580,000 from me and took you to Hawaii using my dead father's money." Silence on the other end. "David and I are married," I continued. "Very much married. The divorce papers were filed today. I'm guessing his card got declined at your resort?" I don't understand." He said he was separated. He said you were living apart. He's been showing me apartment listings for his new place. All lies. Every word. Did he also tell you he's facing criminal charges for embezzlement and fraud? What? No, that's not. Her voice cracked. Oh my God, I had no idea. I swear I didn't know he was married. He doesn't wear a ring. He told me he'd been divorced for months, that the paperwork was just finalizing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Something in her voice told me she was telling the truth. She really hadn't known. She was as much a victim of David's lies as I was, just a different kind. Sophie, I said, and my voice softened slightly. I need you to do something for me. I need you to document everything. Every promise he made to you, every conversation about money, every time he talked about his divorce, or his separation, or his new life. Can you do that? Why? Because he's going to try to claim you seduced him, that you were the problem, that you're unstable. Trust me, men like David always have a backup plan. Don't let him make you the villain in this story. Another long silence. Then, okay, I'll document everything. And Maya? I really am sorry. I never would have, if I'd known. I know, I said, and I meant it. After we hung up, I looked at my phone. 47 missed calls from David, 83 text messages. I blocked his number. The weekend passed in a strange, suspended peace. I slept better than I had in months. On Saturday, I met with Quinn again. She'd already been contacted by David's lawyer, some shark from a downtown firm who specialized in protecting wealthy executives. He's claiming you've had a mental breakdown, Quinn said. Says you're not competent to handle finances, that you're emotionally unstable following your father's death. His lawyer wants the accounts unfrozen immediately. And I sent them the forensic accounting report, the forged documents, and the screenshots of his emails planning to steal your inheritance and abandon you. His lawyer stopped returning my calls. On Monday morning, David came home. I watched through the window as he paid for his Uber with cash probably borrowed from Sophie and walked up to the door. He tried his key. It didn't work. He knocked. I didn't answer. He called my phone. It went straight to voicemail because I'd blocked him. Finally, he noticed the envelope taped to the door. Divorce papers. Restraining order. Police report for fraud and embezzlement. Court date. I watched him read them, watched his face cycle through confusion, anger, disbelief. Then he started pounding on the door. Maya, open this door. We need to talk. You can't just... I called the police. Told them my estranged husband was violating a restraining order. They arrived within 10 minutes. From the window, I watched them escort David away from the property. He was screaming about his rights, his house, his wife. The officers weren't impressed. 3 weeks later, I sat across from David in a mediation room. He'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. His expensive suit hung wrong on his frame. His lawyer looked tired. Mrs. Chen, David's lawyer began, my client is prepared to offer a settlement. A 50-50 split of all marital assets, and he'll agree to... No, Quinn said. Excuse me? No. Here's what's going to happen. Mr. Bennett is going to return every penny of the $580,000 he stole from Mrs. Chen's inheritance. He's going to pay all legal fees. He's going to sign over his half of the house. He's going to agree to alimony for 5 years, the time Mrs. Chen gave up her career to support his. And he's going to do all of this by end of day tomorrow, or we're proceeding with criminal charges. David's lawyer looked at David. David was staring at me, his eyes pleading. Maya, please. We can talk about this. I made mistakes. I wasn't thinking clearly. Sophie. She manipulated me. Made me. Don't, I said quietly. It was the first word I'd spoken directly to him in 3 weeks. Don't lie anymore. I've heard enough lies. I love you, he said desperately. I know I screwed up, but I love you. We can fix this. We can... You forged my signature. You stole my father's money. You were planning to abandon me and let me think I'd somehow lost everything through my own incompetence. You told your mistress I was dead inside. You've been lying to me for 2 years. I stood up. There is no fixing this. Sign the papers, David. It's over. The settlement came through the next day. Every penny of the $580,000, plus damages. The house, alimony, his company, facing their own investigation into whether he'd misused corporate funds for his affair, let him go to pursue other opportunities. Sophie, to her credit, quit and filed an official complaint with HR about the power dynamic and coercion. Her testimony helped establish the pattern of manipulation and financial abuse. 2 months after that Friday when I let David fly to Hawaii, I sat in my house drinking coffee and going through job listings. My former colleague from the marketing firm had called me last week. "Maya, I don't know what happened with your marriage, and you don't have to tell me, but if you're interested in coming back to work, we'd love to have you. Director position. Your own team. We never really replaced you." I'd cried when I hung up. Happy tears, for the first time in so long. Now, sitting in the quiet house as morning light streamed through the windows, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not just relief, not just satisfaction, freedom. My phone buzzed. A text from Quinn. "Lunch this week? Celebrating your return to the workforce properly this time." I smiled and typed back, "Absolutely, my treat." I could afford it now. I had my father's money back, safely in an account only I could access. I had my career back. I had my life back. The white roses on the counter were beginning to wilt. I'd throw them out tomorrow and buy new ones, maybe something colorful this time. Peonies, perhaps, or those vibrant Gerbera daisies my father used to bring home every Friday when I was a child. A new beginning deserved new flowers. I picked up my coffee mug and walked to the window. The rain had finally stopped. Seattle was bright and clean, washed new. Somewhere in this city, David was probably in a cramped apartment, trying to figure out how to rebuild a life he'd destroyed through his own greed and lies. I didn't feel sorry for him. I didn't feel angry anymore either. I just felt free, and that was worth more than all the money in the world.